So, good evening, everyone. My name is Hisnat Dogi, and I am from ALC Wijda. I'd like to start this with a question for the ladies in this room. And please raise your hand whenever you feel concerned or this applies to you, okay? So, have you ever wished to have long, blonde, silky hair? Come on, raise your hand. I know you do. Okay. So what about blue eyes? Or green eyes? Gray eyes? Yeah. Okay, so we all do, right? Because lately I have noticed that whenever a Moroccan lady wants to get married, she dyes her hair blonde and puts eyeglasses on. All Moroccans know this, right? Okay. Actually, both of my recently married sisters did the exact same thing. And they looked identical in their weddings. And this made me wonder why. I mean, don't you want to look different and be unique? Or is it okay for you to look identical to someone as long as you are going to fit in the beauty competition? Then one day I was scrolling down YouTube watching some TED Talks, and I came across this video made by an African American beautiful lady who was talking about how she grew up wishing to become white. She wanted to have blonde hair, and she wanted to have silky hair and a light color, light eyes color. She related all this to the cartoons we used to watch. Do you remember the Disney princesses? Rapunzel, Snow White, right? All of these princesses had fair skin, a light eye color, and a silky long hair. And she also related it to she also blamed the commercials, the TV commercial, the dolls commercials, because all the dolls were white. She had nothing looking like her on TV. So things started to make sense to me. It was media's influence on us. We have been brainwashed by media since we were kids. And unfortunately, we still are, right? So now that I knew the cause, I had to find some way to avoid this. And last year, I had a subject at the university called Media Studies. It opened my eyes to all the techniques and methods used by media producers to manipulate and attract audience. It also made me realize that all those women, those almost angels we see on TV, on magazines, on social media, those are not naturally beautiful. If they didn't have surgeries, plastic surgeries, they had lots of makeup on, made by makeup artists. If not, their pictures were photoshopped to make them look almost like angels. And all that was for a reason. Media is always trying to sell you something, whether it's a product, a belief, or an idea. So, I had to find a way to defend myself. But then I found out that the only way to change this was by changing from within. You girls have to love yourself. You have to accept yourself. Don't let anyone tell you how do you have to look or who do you have to look like, okay? Because each one of us has his own flaws, right? And those flaws are what makes us different and unique. Those are what makes us special, okay? So, girls, Tonight, I want you to go home, look at the mirror, look at yourself, and say, I am beautiful. I am unique. I am one of my kind. Okay? And boys, men. I don't want you to feel excluded from this conversation because you know why women are trying to look beautiful, right? Yeah. So, remind your woman how beautiful she is and how unique she is. And don't compare her to anybody else, and especially not one of the Kardashians. Okay? Thank you.
Can you tell us what type of speech you're giving? Informative. Okay, thank you. Whenever you're ready.
Hello everyone. What do you think about me standing like this? Do I look too manly? What about a boy having this kind of posture or like this while he's thinking about something? Does it look weird? Well, if it's so, then let's imagine something even more weird. A world where men's and women's roles would be reversed. The woman would go and work at every kind of job, construction, truck driving, car repairs. And then on the weekend, she would hang out with her friends, watching football matches, doing wrestling, bodybuilding. And then at home, she would find her beloved husband doing dinner, laundry, taking care of children, rehearsing his ballet moves. In this kind of world, a man could even get pregnant. Unbelievable, right? Well, yes, it is. In fact, this is not how men's and women's roles are defined in the society. Actually, there are some gender stereotypical roles that are considered as norms, and which every man and woman is pressured to stick to in order to be called normal. In Morocco, you are common with these gender stereotypes, but what are their real impacts on the different aspects of lives? What about the rest of the world? Is it the same for them? Well, let's explore together the gender stereotypes. First, gender stereotyping is defined as being an overt generalization of characteristics, attributes, and differences of a certain group based on their gender, being a male or female. It is believed that gender stereotypes begins the second a child's gender is found out. For a girl, for example, the parents would decorate the room with pink colors, butterflies, flowers, dolls, assuming that the girl would be girly. And for a boy, on the other hand, the walls would be painted in blue, with toys like cars, video games, action figures, men stuff. This is just one simple aspect of gender stereotypes. Let's look into some statistics that all over the world that is proving that gender stereotypes do exist everywhere. And more importantly, it is impacting the decision-making processes and the opportunities of men and women in life. According to the World Bank database in 2015, 21% of female working age was part of the labor force versus 79% of male. According to UNA Foundation, 62 million girls are denied in education all over the world. A Microsoft research reported that only 29% of applicants in computer science were women. Based on UNESCO study, only 30% of the world's researchers are women. In Saudi Arabia, women are not even allowed to drive. A study about Great Britain stated that only 19% of males were employed in health and social care sectors, while there are just 29% of them employed in educational sector. What about Morocco? Based on the Global Gender Gap Report in 2015, Morocco is ranked 139 out of 145 countries in terms of gender gap index. We have just 17% of Moroccan women who are in parliaments, while we have just 6% of women who are in secretary general position and just 11% of women who are directors. The National Council of Human Rights stated that in Morocco we have only 22% of PhD students who are female. Let's go back to an American News survey. On an average day, they stated that 22% of men reported doing housework versus 50% of women. So, based on these statistics, it's clear that gender stereotyping is influencing in a way that it creates a kind of disparities and gender segregation in labor markets, in education, in lifestyle, and in opportunities for both men and women. However, things have started to change. People have started to reject this kind of gender stereotypes and claim for more equality, for more freedom to live their life the way they want, regardless of their gender. Like Gerard Alt did. A US magazine called Mirror introduced him as a man who opened a knitting shop called iKnit in South London. He's hosting craft classes, and around 22% of its clients are men. Similar trends raised up, like we have Steve Stones, a 44-year-old man who were an environmental biologist, but because of some crisis in the business, he went to do nursing in 2015. We have also Brian Williams, who were a childcare worker in the Norway's childcare center in Seedling. So in conclusion, we have looked into what gender stereotypes are. We have explored the statistic that shows the influence and the impact of gender stereotypes. We have seen some changes, and we can wait for more changes in the future. One day, there won't be any women's job or men's job, but everyone's job. One day, a boy or a guy can wear high heels without being criticized. And one day, I will be able to stand like this without being called just for men.
Whenever you're ready.
Well, hello everybody. Well, my name is Shams, and today I will want you to imagine. To imagine you had a big hole in your skin. A big one that grows up every day. Except the fact that you will get thousands of illnesses, and that the one that causes you this is the one that you help, carry, and feed every day. How would you feel? I see in your eyes that you will feel really bad. Well, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that there is someone right now that is carrying this pain every hour, every minute, and every second. Do you know who it is? It is our planet, the Earth. Well, I guess you all know about all these climate changes problems. But if you ask your parents or grandparents, they'll be like, what climate change? Yes, you understood me. They do not know about this. Because back in their time, all they did was taking care of their children, working and thanking God for what they had. But after the Industrial Revolution, everything has changed. Cars and factories started releasing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, and that created the greenhouse effect. Earth's climate has fluctuated. Humans' activity made it rise unusually fast. I guess you all know about this huge layer that protects our planet from the rays of the sun. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you and sorry at the same time. Sorry for all the pain we give you every day. I am sorry from the bottom of my heart. And I know millions of young people are like me. Honestly sorry. But you know, it's not our fault. Well, I want to ask you some questions. Do you close the tap when you're brushing your teeth? Do you throw all your garbage in the bin? And do you turn off the light every time you go out of a room? Well, I guess you don't. Well, here is an example. How many times did you go into a room in the rush in the morning to get something? And when going out, thought about turning off the light, but didn't because you were too busy or too late. I guess you all recognize yourself. Well, let me give you some examples of the effects global warming has on our planet. So, the melting of the ice in the poles, the rising of the sea level, earthquakes, tsunamis and hurricanes, droughts and floods all over the world. And species don't adapt. So, this leads to their extinction. You see? These are just a few examples. I should have made a whole speech about them. Well, you can still help. You can do plenty of things. As closing the tap when you're brushing your teeth, throwing all your garbage in the bin, buying ecological products and recycling. Even teachers can help. You can make less copies, sensitize people, especially young generations, and simply preach what you teach. Well, now, I want to say something. Something to all of you. To all the people in the world. People, please, 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 let the youth live their life. Let them grow. Let them learn. Don't ruin our life with all these problems. Let us think about something else than in how many years the earth is going to die, or how many people are going to die by the air pollution, or when all the trees and animals are going to disappear. Let us build our future. With your car if you don't have energy? How do you want to travel if you don't have gas? How do you want to live if you don't have fresh water? How do you want to breathe if you don't have oxygen? How do you want to build a future if you don't have a good planet? How? Tell me how. Don't you see all these people who die every day all over the world because of the dirty air or the dirty water? Don't you? All you care about is yourself and money. The human being is so selfish. Remember, you do not own that planet from your parents or grandparents. You're preparing it for your kids. So take care of it. And as Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. Thank you.
The issue of prison conditions in Morocco and the effectiveness of discriminalization policy. The second speaker, Salma, will be talking to you about a comparison between treatment facilities in prison. Then we'll explain the ineffectiveness of prisons in Morocco. And last speaker, Absalma, will rebuttal and sum up our team case. Ladies and gentlemen, to begin with, prisons in Morocco lack the conditions for prisoners. According to Moroccan 2015 Human Rights Report, prisons in Moroccan prisons continue to face a daily struggle for survival. They are living in an overcrowded and under-equipped cells that are plagued by conflicts, which raises the risk of radicalization among prisoners. Under these circumstances, sending drug addicts to a prison is exactly like adding salt to injury. I repeat, sending drug addicts to a prison is exactly like adding salt to injury. And the statistics here are really terrifying and shocking. According to Nation Master, 90% of drug addicts are still under addiction when they are in the prison, since prison is a place when drug trafficking is commonly used. 47% prisoners commit similar crimes and go back to jail. 7% of prisoners commit suicide inside a jail. Furthermore, since the last decades, countries around the world fostered and fostered and applied this policy in their countries. Therefore, they reach wonderful results.
Point of information? No, not allowed.
They reach wonderful results. Therefore, it has a positive impact on prisoners and society as well. Taking the example of Portugal, the Caro paper reports that between 2001 and 2006, in Portugal, rates of lifetime use of any illegal drug among 7th through 9th graders fell from 40% to 10%. Ladies and gentlemen, with all that being said, our house still believes that drug addicts charged with drug-related crime
Time.
We have crimes related to participating to a structure, such as a drug system like production or manufacturing. And secondly, we have treatment center. A treatment center is a facility providing treatment and therapy for all its members. The center may offer occupational therapy, physical therapy, vocational training, and special training. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where is the problem. In Morocco, we only have 7 public treatment centers. And those treatment centers are very bad, they are very miserable situations with professionals that are not very equipped and not very trained for those kind of people, to deal with those kind of people. And those centers are in lack of funds, which means that they cannot provide those rehabilitation treatments and therapy, plus they can't accept everyone. They only accept severe cases, about 20%.
In comparison to other Arab countries. Do you still think that prison is the answer to drug addiction? Here's another fact, shown by the same source. A huge percentage of drug addiction in Morocco are students. Do you really think it's fair and appropriate to send them to jail and ruin their future? Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 10, denial. Everyone is entitled in full equality to a fair and public hearing by an independent and impartial tribunal in the determination of his right and obligation of any criminal charges against him. Here we're talking about fair judgment. Does it seem fair to send people to jail for something they didn't choose? I mean, everyone in this room is likely to get drug addict. No one can deny that. It's not your choice, of course. So everyone deserves a second chance. Ladies and gentlemen.
Point of information?
Yes, sure.
Can you explain how people do not choose to be addicted? Thank you.
Sure. But you're not conscious of the consequences, so now I'm going to continue with my arguments. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe in democracy, equality, human treatment, and we are completely against any human degrading activity like sending drug addicts to jail. And here's another thing. Finally, drugs are being used inside the prison. Almost 23% of Moroccan dies in prison of drug overdose. According to the Moroccan Prison Observatory. Yeah, that shows how jail policy is really working. So, finally, we, the affirmative team, strongly believe that we should be treated as human, and we should be given a second chance, and drug addicts should get a treatment rather than to be sent to jail. Thank you.
Gentlemen, good evening. I was almost touched with the emotional, sensitive arguments that's been mentioned on behalf of our esteemed government here today. Yet, what's kind of astonishing here is, and I quote, that is the main purpose of this debate, to build more treatment centers for drug addicts. Well, why wouldn't she say, let's build more prisons? Because last time I checked, there are only 7 public centers, as been mentioned by the first speaker. Furthermore, To further explain the argument mentioned by the first speaker, not only do we have only some public treatment centers, but to be specifically on the statistics, we have 100% of drug population, only 20% of which get access to the drug treatment centers. Yet, only 25% of those 20% get access and follow up and maybe gone over their addiction. What's even more astonishing is the fact that our esteemed government disregarded the fact that we're not talking about drug addicts. We're talking about drug addicts charged with a crime, with a drug-related crime. So, how can we send someone who can be convicted with murder, rape, or burglary to treatment center? Well, I have dozens of examples. One of which is the fact that this definition of drug-related crime, during which the drug addict can commit a crime, during which he's conscious and well aware of his actions. In order to fund the drug habit, he might murder someone or rape someone in order to get money to sell to eventually get drugs. At that stage, he might be unconscious and well aware. But at this stage of committing crime, he was well aware of his actions. And I see no reason for which he should not be sent to prison. Furthermore, to back up the stage...
Objection.
Accepted?
Can you please remind us of the crime mentioned in the motion?
Well, the motion clearly states that drug criminals charged with a drug-related crime.
Thank you. It's not killing.
I don't know if our government is, not only isn't she allowed to speak back according to the rules, but a crime includes murder, includes rape, includes every single that, as she said, her words, this degrading the human lives. Moving further on, one of the most statistic examples that, according to a report that's been conducted on Duzan, China National American TV, a young taxi driver who was on drugs, he got an argument with another mechanic boy. During this argument, the taxi driver, since he was on drugs, he did not hesitate for not even a single second to pull out his knife and effortlessly murder the young mechanic boy. Not only did he testify during investigation that the money he had every intention to buy with it drugs. What's the verdict? It was life sentence. It was not my verdict, nor any of our esteemed opposition members. It was the law. The law, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a system that's been governing and ruling our lives for a very long time. And our esteemed government, among all sides, should be well aware of this. Therefore, a crime is a crime no matter what. And the crime must be held accountable for his actions. You did the crime, you made the time. Thank you very much.
So to pick up where we left off, our house still believes firmly that drug addicts should be treated as patients and sent to treatment facilities instead of prison. In my role as the third speaker of the affirmative team, will be to first refute the arguments made by speakers of the opposite team, and then I will give you a detailed, brief summary of our arguments. First, you said that drug addiction is a choice. Well, you can say the same thing about cancer. One of the most common causes of cancer is radiation from chemical factories, according to medsmdb.com. You can say that cancer patients chose to live next to those factories, but we don't say that. We just treat them instead. So the same thing can be done to drug addicts. Also, you said that why should we deny? You said that why don't we build more prisons? Well, we already have prisons. Deny. We already have enough prisons, and they're ineffective. Therefore, we need treatment facilities. Also, you said that drug-related can be anything. Drug-related can't be anything necessarily. It can't be just rape or murder. Drug use and addiction is wrongfully considered a crime. The word crime is vague and broad. You're using a logical fallacy. Also, you use this statistically insignificant deny. You used a statistically insignificant story about random people that holds no weight.
Point of information.
Accept.
that random story was a report by channel National Moroccan TV. I don't see us got.
National Moroccan TV is a news channel that used clickbait on their websites and used a lot of wrong titles and stuff to attract more viewers and readers. So it holds no weight. Also, it's Moroccan, so it's going to be biased. Moving on to our summary. So far, our first speaker, Mohsin, has demonstrated the conditions of Moroccan prisons and how it is so wrong to think that they're the right place for drug addicts. According to credible sources, like the 2015 Moroccan Human Rights Report and the 2016 reports by the Moroccan Prison Observatory, those sources, and especially the second one, are from the horse's mouth. It is Moroccan sources, so it is not a foreign source that's trying to twist Morocco's image. It's a first-hand experience kind of information. Mohsin, our first speaker, then went on to explain the many benefits and effectiveness of decriminalization of drug addiction. Drug addiction is defined as a chronic, relapsing brain disease that is characterized by compulsive drug seeking and use according to Drug Abuse Gov. Therefore, it is not a crime. Our second speaker, Selma, mentioned how treatment facilities work better than jail. Drug addicts are going to be locked anyway, but they will be treated. Drugs are going to be kept away from them, unlike in jail, the drug use is so common. Also, they will be given another chance in life. A second chance in life is a basic human right according to the International Declaration of Human Rights. Selma then went on to explain how prison does not solve the problem for so many reasons, like how inmates who have a drug addiction can still get access to drugs in prison. Ladies and gentlemen, in light of those well-thought, well-detailed arguments, we still believe that drug addicts should be treated in facilities and not jail. Thank you so much.
For getting into my speech and explaining furthermore my teammates' arguments, I would like to rebut the arguments mentioned by the government. Well, first of all, they said that Moroccan youth are biased and they do not see that Moroccan youth are a credible source. Well, I do not see how, ladies and gentlemen, we can actually convince the government if they do not believe in the only source, the credible source I believe we have, which is our national TV. Not to mention that we, ladies and gentlemen, and I have witnessed more than a case in which people were murdered because of there were someone who had drugs or who were under the effect of drugs, and this is something I will get on in my speech. They also mentioned how we are, ladies and gentlemen, degrading humans when we send them to prison. Well, what about the mass killings, murders, rapes of those innocent people who get raped every day by the cause of those people who actually are addicted? Aren't we degrading those people when we do not send the people who actually caused this harm to them to jail? When we do not send these people to a place in which they can be penalized, in a place in which they get the sentence they deserve, the penalization they deserve. When we send these people to a treatment center, not to mention that there are only 7, and not to mention that these people will not actually get the treatment, which means that these people would either, if they are lucky enough, that these people would either get to the treatment center or not get neither to the treatment center nor get the punishment they should get. They also mentioned the example of cancer, and I do not see, ladies and gentlemen, how we can compare someone who got cancer because they lived in an environment in which they actually got this by the environment, and this is someone who got patients and who actually, we can say that this is their fate. And these people actually got sick. We agree on all this. We are also sorry for these people. We do sympathize with them, but we believe that these people actually do not harm others, unlike, ladies and gentlemen, the drug addict. The drug addict who got an addiction. these people, even though if they are influenced according to their environment or due to their environment, we still believe that these people actually chose to get addicted. They chose to go towards addiction. Nothing is ever, ladies and gentlemen, imposed over you unless you choose to do it. They also said that these people need to be given a second chance. Again, I would like to say that they kept on saying that we should send these people to treatment centers, but they did not mention a single strategy of building treatment centers in Morocco, as this was their job as being the government. They should have given a model for this debate. Now, I would like to highlight, ladies and gentlemen, give you a study that shows that more than 85% of people who take drugs, they do it willingly. More than a half of these people commit crimes deliberately or with the intention to do so. And so these are people who must go through incarceration. We believe that we should not, ladies and gentlemen, waste no more time. We should waste no more energy. We should waste no more money on these people and send them to treatment centers. We should send them to jail. These people should get penalized and punished for the act they have done. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Moroccan national TV is biased. Apparently, the government is not well aware of the definition of bias because let's assume that it is biased for the sake of argument. It is not, but let's assume that it is for the sake of argument. How would Moroccan TV confess to such shameful facts to the whole world that Morocco is full of drug addicts and we're sending them to rehab facilities that we don't have even much, only 7, and specifically on that point, that leaves us only with 80% of drug addicts who has not access to treatment centers, or they are left all over the place, having every single chance and possibility to commit major crimes, whether it's murder, rape, or whatever definition our esteemed government have for a crime. But moving swiftly on, I kind of challenge each and every single one of you, because the government defense would go something as follows. Because as they say, let's send someone to a rehab facility. They're drug addict, they committed a crime major, whether killing or murder or rape, let's send them to rehab facilities, although there is no place for them. How are you, even with the least rational mind, capable to squeeze, I'm no mathematician, but how can they squeeze 15 drug addicts in one single bed, according to our dreams and availability, and still expect them to recover and overcome their addiction? That being said, I don't see the government defense. Let's send someone to rehab facility. Like, do we really need any sort of additional movement on this category, specifically speaking? To be more specific, the government defense, if we send them to rehab facility, they'd be out in a year tops, year tops. They, despite the non-following up strategy of treatment centers, they would go committing major crimes, even worse than extensively higher rate. Do we send him to prison? No, of course not. We send him back to prison. Because I challenge you, each and every single one of you, ladies and gentlemen, including our esteemed government, if those victims, whether it rapes, whether it was like your mother or sister who got raped, your father or uncle who got murdered, your grandparents who got robbed, I challenge every single one of you that if it was your loved ones, including our government, our esteemed government, it was one of your loved ones, to come up here and still talk about the nonsense of second sources and benefits rehab facility, we have only 7. Therefore, I believe, having apparently refuted all of the so-called arguments mentioned by our esteemed government, I see no reason not to admit that the opposition house should by all means be the winner of this debate. Thank you very much.
Here's what was wrong with our distinguished opponents' arguments. First, they twisted definitions of words to serve their agenda in their motions, like the word crime. Second, they use statistically insignificant stories used by news stations that our national TV, our national TV is not a credible, those stories are not credible, because that's why we have news channels are not credible because that's why we have science in research. Also, the third speaker claimed that they have witnessed murders. I don't think she knows what the meaning of word witness means. They also introduced other arguments during the reply speech, which is against debate rules. Whereas our arguments were clear, accurate, and well supported, we extracted arguments and statistics from credible sources, especially Moroccan ones that are from the horse's mouth, like the Moroccan Prison Observatory and the Moroccan Drug Addiction Observatory. Moroccan sources are credible to our motion because our motion has the word Morocco in it. If you go ahead and verify our pieces of evidence, you'll come to find that they belong to national studies, reports, and surveys, and therefore check out. We gave strong arguments instead of relying on top 10 why reason why is X, and you won't believe why reason number 6 is type of articles used by BuzzFeed and Matthew Santoro. Our strong verified evidence shows that we have credible sources, which means we have credible arguments. Moreover, all of our arguments were tied to a basic premise, which is drug addicts should be sent to treatment centers other than prisons, and we strongly stand for that motion. Thank you.
Time to finish up their tallies. In the meantime, if you could all exit this way and hang out outside, and we'll call you back in about